everyone, and welcome to the LDG Experience podcast. We are on episode number 24. Never thought we'd get this far.
No.
How are you guys doing, Pete?
Good, thank you very much. Yes, we've been very busy on my streams on Twitch, Onyx Dragon Gaming. Just basically finished painting as a recording Jagatai Khan, Primarch of the White Scars, in a couple of days.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's scary. I've managed to paint 3 Primarchs in 3 weeks, and it feels like a bit like a...
Well, now you've got to get the rest of them.
I know, right?
Yeah, you've got to...
I'm actually planning on doing it. I'm thinking I'm going to try and pick up and paint the rest of the Primarchs.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, because they are fun to paint.
And they all look
20.
Good. 18. Yeah.
Well, actually, no. Because there are more than 18 models, though.
Yeah, but if we can count Horus Ascended and Fulgrim Transfigured...
Yeah,
then there's 20 models.
Yeah. And then you've got...
And then if you include...
The Demon Primarchs.
Yeah. And then if you include... What's his face? Valdor. Constantine Valdor. Is technically part of that series as well.
Yeah, so you actually have more than the original 20.
That's true.
So if anybody ever asks what happened to the 2 missing Primarchs, you just be like, well, I've got more than 20 Primarchs. So I don't know what you're talking about.
But no, I think that's the plan. We've got a few things coming up soon, but yeah, that's the plan for right now.
I feel like that's a very much an Alpha Legion move.
Oh,
Yeah, that's the...
Paint Alpharius twice, just to make sure.
Just to make sure. But are you sure, though? Was it Alpharius?
Yes. I'm not going to go through this again. Just accept it. He's dead.
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
But yeah, that's me. What about you,
good.
Tom?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, I've just had lunch. I just had to sit for the best part of 2.5 hours and wait for Evie to have a blood test. Because we went...
Is it blood?
It was.
That's all right.
Yeah, well, I bloody hope so.
Yeah.
We waited long enough to find out.
It looked like blood.
But that has basically set me into the pause mode of not being able to do anything.
Yeah, I find that when you stop and you stop hard, it's really hard to get going again.
So I'm a little bit stopped, but I am good. We are going, as of recording of this, which hopefully people will see the stuff before this goes out, to take some photographs of the new location for Lazy Dragon Gaming.
Exciting.
Yes. And as Lazy Dragon Gaming is brought up, you can pre-order things on our website. It's lazydragongaming.com. It's very easy to find. We currently have, what do we have up? We have, it's the new Pokemon.
Yes.
Which will all be up by the time you're hearing this.
Shrouded Fables.
Shrouded Fates.
Fables.
I thought it was Fates.
Fables.
Oh.
Shrouded Fables.
Oh, you do way more of it than me.
Weird names, yeah.
Shrouded Fables. There we go.
Shrouded Fates could be another game.
Yeah,
It probably is another game. It probably is some sort of like Yu-Gi-Oh! Pokemon sounding expansion.
Well, we have the last holiday set was called Paldean Fates.
Before that was Shining.
And before that was Shining Fates.
Yeah.
So we've moved away from Fates now to Fables.
Okay.
We've also had Hidden Fates as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of Fate.
Yeah.
Now
it's been Fate down the back of the sofa.
Yeah. Now there's plenty of Fables.
Fate right in your face. Yeah.
But yeah, that's available for pre-order at lazydragongaming.com. And there's some other changes happening as well. Because we have another podcast, which there are 2 episodes, probably 3 or 4 by the time this goes up, of Lore Quest. Which is me, Evie, and Harry, and that can be found on YouTube's and other places?
Nope, just YouTube.
Just YouTube.
YouTube exclusive.
YouTube exclusive at Lazy Dragon Gaming on YouTube, which is, you can go and listen to all our podcasts there. And if you are listening there, we would appreciate if you left a like, a comment, and a subscription, because we appreciate that a lot. Evie is hourly reporting on our subscription rate, which is climbing, which is good.
It's been insane. It's not something I would ever have expected to be that insane.
Yeah. And then the other thing that's changed as well is that I'm not going to be streaming anymore.
No?
No.
No more Lorcana?
Well, yeah, but not by my choice.
Oh, right, they clamped down on...
So, Pixelborn, which, if you listen to LoreQuest, you go back and listen to the episode, because it will be up by the time. Episode 3 of LoreQuest, me, Harry and Evie will be discussing this, which is the death of Pixelborn.
Oh, dear.
And I will, if you don't want to go and listen to it, basically Pixelborn is a third-party... game simulator for Lorcana.
Yeah.
And it uses all the artwork and all the game mechanics and everything else. And to be honest, it was only a matter of time before Disney went, that's our IP and our IP.
And rather than being sensible and going, I buy it,
No, well, that's the thing. They can't.
Oh, right.
Legality is very difficult when it comes to copyright and intellectual property.
Right.
Because if they were to say to the gentleman who created it, that's very good, can we buy that? That essentially gives him ownership of it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Right.
So they
have to kind of shut this one down and then be like, we'd like you to make Ponxelburn.
Yeah.
Which is very similar, but...
So I suspect that he had a letter that basically said, hey, stop doing that, or we're going to mess you up.
Yeah.
And at the same time, he may then get approached later and be like, and now we've shut you down.
Yes.
Would you like a job?
To make something completely different but oddly similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, with IP, this is why Games Workshop is so... it does tie into what we talk about on the show, which is that intellectual property is very tenuous.
And it's especially it's not really caught up with the digital age yet either.
No, it's so.
And it also varies from country to country.
It does.
Like there have been lots. This is the thing. Games Workshop always had the reputation of like slamming down on a lot of people.
Yes.
And I'll be honest, it's like sometimes some mistakes have been made and whatever. But on the whole, a lot of the time, it's just because defending intellectual property is something you have to do.
Yes.
Otherwise, you lose it anyway.
Yep.
And it does vary from place to place. Like some places you can be like, that's cool, totally cool. We can let this fan-made film go out and it's totally fine. And in some places, like Germany, for example, apparently, this is just if you know German intellectual property law in and out, there was many years ago, there was a project called Damnatus, which was a fan-made Inquisition film. It looked amazing. It was a buzz in the community. Everyone freaking loved it. Even Games Workshop loved it. And then somebody in the legal team, supposedly just almost at the 11th hour, went, if they release that, they own the rights to 40k, right? Because of how their intellectual property rules went. And they went, oh, crap.
Yeah.
So they then had to be like, no, go away.
Yeah.
And
that is
it's sad. Because obviously the biggest thing about Games Workshop, they've always said, their biggest asset is their intellectual property.
It is, categorically. It's not their miniatures in any way, shape, or form. They make way more money from their IP than they do from...
I mean, look at Marvel. Marvel's the same.
Marvel,
the same. Their comics make them bugger all money. Yeah. It's the money they make on movies and stuff.
Yeah. We'll take Games Workshop. You're getting a new edition of Talisman.
Oh, Talisman, yeah.
Yep.
The game, the board game, which is Games Workshop's IP.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
That they give that they sell the rights to.
Yeah, they're a lot more open with that now than they used to be. They used to be very cagey with doing.
Yeah, now they sell it.
Now it seems like they've gone a bit like Star Wars and just gone. You want to make rubber dog poos that are squig poos? Sure, do it.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what they've done now is they've parted out their IP.
Yeah.
So, for example, you could approach Games Workshop and say, "Hey, I want to make squig plushies in different colours." And they will give you the rights to make exclusively squig plushes, but you couldn't make a goblin one or like a Bretonian one or something.
Yeah.
You would only be allowed to do.
Yeah, I think they figured it out. Yeah. They've kind of found a way to have their cake and eat it, like defend the intellectual property, but also let people use it.
Yeah,
which is great.
I interrupted you. Sorry, if you go.
Yeah. Oh no, I was just going to say you've got Talisman.
Yep.
Which is their IP. You've got any upcoming TV series / movies with a certain very famous actor.
Yes.
That's also obviously their IP. You've got all the books, everything in Black Library.
Well, that's their own publishing house, so that kind of is in-house.
But they have had some stuff published outside of it, though, haven't they?
Well, they've had Marvel. They'd obviously deal with Marvel to make comic books. But yeah, their IP is all over the place now. Like, there's so many brands that now have Games Workshop branded things.
Yeah.
Even on those calendar stores, when you go to the calendar stores and they've got like all these.
Well, they do candles.
They do scented candles.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
Scented candles.
Yeah, they're for sale usually on the shelves at Warhammer World, which I was there at the weekend. So
we went into Fazpack, who graciously allows us to host our tournaments while we are homeless, and he had the 4 Chaos Gods scented candles. No, sorry, he had 3, didn't he?
He had 3.
Because he didn't have Nurgle. And I was like, but Nurgle is the one that everyone will want. He was like, it was sold out. I was like...
That's the point,
That's proved my point. It's the Nurgle one. Light a candle, the aroma of death.
Yeah, I think there's like a Nid one as well. Like a Nid one and a Tau one.
I
have no idea what any of them smell like.
I've smelt 3 of the 4 Chaos Gods.
My lovable lady girlfriend is the one to ask, because last time we were at Warhammer World, she went and did a scent check on all of them. So she's the one.
Well, I know that I didn't like Zinch.
Yeah, no one does.
No one likes Zinch.
It was too powerful.
Too powerful. Slanesh was quite nice.
It was alluring.
Alluring, yes. And Corn was, I don't remember, so I'm going to go with meh.
I think Corn was the one that we both liked.
Yeah, there was one that we both liked.
It's a solid, simple, in-your-face scent, which it should be,
but we couldn't try Nurgle because it wasn't there, it sold out. So that's to prove my point, it was the one that Nurgle that everybody would want. So anyway, that leads on to the fact that Pixelborn is closed down.
Yes.
That was a tangent and a half.
I know, right? See, we haven't even got onto the topic.
So anyway, Pixelborn is closing down. I stream using Pixelborn.
Yes.
Ergo,
no stream.
as of the 16th of June, I won't be able to stream anymore.
Yeah.
And I figured, well, there's no point carrying on streaming in the interim time.
No.
Because I can be doing other shit.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do other shit.
Why not? Yeah.
But Evie is still streaming.
Yes.
I am,
Yeah.
although my streams may have to take a little bit of a tangent
Yes.
into diamond painting,
Yes.
as we are currently trying to figure out if I have carpal tunnel syndrome or not.
Yeah.
Lovely.
It's been a great week.
Oh, yeah.
It's been an awesome week
Yeah.
in the Davis household. It's been one of much. Oh, and your car died yesterday.
Yes.
Oh, dear.
So yes, the
Well,
car,
she's not gone to the great car
she's
park in the sky yet.
not quite. She's got a bit of a leak of water, which requires repairing. But of course,
These things tend to unravel.
Yeah,
Start pulling on a thread.
Yeah. So I'm going to leave that and borrow my dad's car for a little bit until we can get that sorted out. Because getting it booked into garages takes about 2 weeks now, apparently.
Yeah, they seem to be very busy.
We're really busy in garages, so who knew that? But today
Yes.
we are discussing.
Speaking of leaky crap.
Leaky crap, yes. Things where water comes from places it shouldn't.
Yes.
Brought to you by the Imperium of Man.
Yeah.
We are going to discuss the hive world of Necromunda.
Yes.
And we're going
Because
to...
it's quite a good segue to explain not just the specifics of Necromunda, which is a skirmish battle game that Games Workshop make, but also it kind of gives you a really good sort of snapshot of what the average Imperial society is and what hives are. Because you've probably heard us talk about hives a lot, and hive cities and hive worlds. So this will give a bit more of a deep dive into what that means.
Yes. And then with a little touch on the occasion of gaming.
Yes, and historic lore and things.
Yes. So, first of all, Necromunda is a hive world, which means it's covered, or at least...
Well, it has a bunch of them.
A bunch of hives. And hives are, if you know Judge Dredd, they're like a mega city.
Yeah.
But if a mega city was squished in and rammed up...
So, I've got the old, my lovely old version 1 Necromunda rulebook in front of me, specifically for this reason, because it has a lovely picture in it, which gives a vague sort of idea of it. So it's they're quite a obviously wide thing, and then they go all the way up into a massive, literally a big spire, because that's where the rich people live.
Looks a little bit like the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, it's that natural thing of like as you stack things on top of each other, it gets a bit thinner.
Yeah.
So, but the main hive of Necromunda is known as Hive Primus, which is where our canonical game takes place. In the latest edition, we're just about to venture into Hive Secundus, which nobody lives in anymore for reasons that will have become obvious when we get there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But Hive Primus is approximately from the surface to the tip of the spire 10 miles high. Now, to give you an idea, the cloud cover is roughly 5 miles high. So this spire, there's a beautiful piece of artwork in one of the later books, one of the newer books, which is literally just like it's drawn as if like from the window of a spacecraft orbiting Necromunda, and obviously you just see this sea of clouds, and then there's just these massive spikes that just come through like into the lower atmosphere. So that gives you an idea of scale for a hive, and the fact that on the biggest hive worlds, almost the entire population of the Earth would fit in one.
Well, the population of Necromunda is over 100 billion.
Yes, and there are only a few hives. They're not like next to each other.
No.
These like massive structures. It'd be like, let's say, if we take Earth for example, you would probably have one, say, somewhere in the centre of the European continent, maybe two, like kind of one on either end. America, maybe you'd have one, say, around New York. One would be around Los Angeles, and then maybe one up around sort of Canada way, up towards Washington State, maybe, or maybe one in the Midwest somewhere. But majority, like you think of where the big population centres now, if you drained them all around you to those people and just put them all in one,
and it would take you could fill Hive Primus with the entire population of our Earth.
Yeah.
And there would be more room than they currently have
In Hive Primers.
On Necromunda.
Yeah.
Like, you would have space, because currently you don't have space.
It's one of my favourite things about 40k as a genre, but as a setting, is it's one of the best sci-fi settings that really gives you a sense of scale.
Yeah.
Both of, like, planetary-sized things as well as interstellar things. Like, that, it really gives a sense of, like, it takes a feck long time to get from A to B. And communication is not instantaneous. You can't just dial Earth and be like, hey guys, what should we do with this?
Yeah.
You're like, you send a message to Earth, which you, hope makes it, and it still travels faster than light, but it still you could get a response like years later. I mean, there are so many little bits in the lore where it's like, they notice a dip in production. So the depths, like, not Ministorum, the other one. Basically the Administratum goes, hang on a minute, they haven't been paying their dues. Alright, this is getting out of hand. We can't let them slide into rebellion. Quick, assemble a task force. And they get there and the planet's been dead for like 20 years.
Yeah.
Like, and this whole process has taken like 5 or 6 years to organise this thing, get it out there, and they realise, oh crap, everyone died like 50 years ago. Yeah. So, it's one of my favourite things about 40k is, the bleakness of that kind of...
Yeah, they assemble a task force and arrive like a decade late.
Yeah. Like, that happens a lot in 40k.
And they have no clue where it went or
what did it, yeah. But anyway, so that's the basics of a...
So, our planetary governor...
Yes, well...
At the time of my writing.
So I'm just gonna caveat this.
Yep.
So this episode will be mostly focusing on the status quo of Necromunda as it was before the current game setting.
Okay.
Because they have moved the story on.
Okay.
This is one of the cool things as part of the newer version of 40k. Sorry, of Necromunda, is that the story is progressing.
Ah.
So
the Lord Governor is Gerontius Helmore.
Yes.
Is he still in charge?
He's dead.
Well, then...
Or in a coma. I think he's either dead or, like, in a coma or something. He's basically... He's not up and about, let's put it this way.
Right, okay.
Yeah, the succession crisis has been, like, the big storyline that's been going on.
Right. So
because he has loads of... Obviously, being a massive imperial house, he has loads of children.
Yes.
It's not as simple as the oldest takes over.
No. Especially because they bump each other off in the process.
Exactly.
Yeah. And now, the rather special thing about Necromunda is that it is actually in Segmentum Solar.
Yes.
Which basically puts it in the relatively close proximity to what we know as
Terra.
Earth, or Terra. It was original name, Pete. Do you know its original name?
No, I haven't been...
Arrhenius Prime.
Ah.
And it was part of a thing during the...
Dark Age?
So it was settled 15,000 years ago in the Age of Technology. Yep. Then obviously you had the Dark Age after that, the Age of Strife. But it was ruled over. It's ruled by a caste, the Technobility.
Ah.
Now I think these get mentioned in the Heresy novels. Because the Imperial Fists are sent to sort them out.
Yes, because
during the Great Crusade.
It's one of the cool things about Necromunda Hive Primus is it has an Imperial Fist recruitment station.
Yes.
In the Hive.
And this is why.
Yes.
Because when the Great Crusade accidentally stumbled upon them, the Imperial, they were like, no, we are the Empire.
Yeah.
You are not. You will join us. And of course the Imperium was like, no. So they sent off the Imperial Fists to sort it out.
Yes.
And they sent off the 39th Household by a commander of Hashin Yonad to prosecute the war. And he was a very good commander.
Yep.
And he took over 20,000 Imperial Fists.
Wow.
Yeah. However, it wasn't actually as easy as they thought because the Technobility had technology, and they used gene-enhanced soldiers and technologically enhanced soldiers, but obviously
not as technologically enhanced as.
Also, there weren't as many.
Yes.
But the big thing that happened just after that was that for some reason something really weird happened. And it's alleged that there was a demonic incursion into the sector.
Ah.
and that's how it ended up being such a mess.
Right.
Just after the Great Crusade, and
Right.
after it had been brought into compliance, and the Imperial Fist basically were one of the first to encounter a later demonic incursion, and they had to start like shutting down warp gates and things.
Right.
So there aren't that many stable warp routes into the sector that they're in.
Yeah.
Because the Imperial Fist basically figured out that if we blow that thing up, then whatever we're fighting goes away.
Yeah.
So we're just going to keep blowing them up until they go away, which they did. So that's a little bit of the setup. And actually, on Erroneous Prime, on Necromunda itself, its gate was destroyed.
Yes.
The warp gate that was on the Prime world. And that's what sort of stopped it all. So yeah, that was that. But it's not known whether or not they were Eldar.
Right,
and they were coming through
gates,
the webway gates, or it was a demonic incursion.
Right.
They're not sure.
See, this is a bit I don't know about Necromunda. I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard that a few times, and I've literally just read it.
All I knew was that the Imperial Fist. They might have been back from the old Imperial Fist, because I think the reason why Necromunda has that little thing in terms of sort of inside and outside lore is I'm pretty certain it's mentioned in one of the oldest Games Workshop novels, Imperial Fist.
Right.
That I think it's the main character is from Necromunda.
Right. Yeah, because like you said, they have
He's a ganger from Necromunda who's then taken and ascended, etc. But yeah, it's always been one of those little vestiges that's like, oh, there's an Imperial Fist recruitment station there.
Yeah. But now Necromunda is a manufactorum planet. It manufactures
all sorts of things,
and machinery and
a bunch of stuff. Because this is what we're getting onto. Because so the structure of the house, we've talked about Lord Helmore, who is the current or was the current the governor of all of Necromunda. House Helmore is the imperial house. They live at the very top of the spire, and they are the ones in charge. Beneath them are 6 noble houses that live in what's called the spire. This is the very upper portion,
the top,
the very top, because that's where Helmore is.
That's
but the sort of next top bit, and they are known as House Grime, House Yolante, House Ty, House Ranlow, House Catalus, and House Co-Iron, and they have various domains over certain things. So, like, there might be, I can't remember the specifics of which hive does, which house does which, but they're like, one of them is like specialises in making drugs, and one of them specialises in forging things, and one makes really good weapons and stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
So, between the spire and the plebs is something called the wall, and it's not really a wall as such. It'd probably more be correctly termed a ceiling. Because it's basically a mass, because it's one of the levels that divides the spire from the main hive city. And they're like massive armoured... Think of like, if you've seen like pictures of Cheyenne Mountain. Yeah. With their massive nuclear-proof doors and
Blast
stuff.
Doors and
Think about that. Like, there's a few of those scattered along the wall so you can get between the two. And yeah, there is a bit of trading done between them, but like, basically, if they feel like the peasants are revolting, then the wall slams shut, and the Arbites come out in force, and everyone's told to bugger off. So below that, we have the houses of the Hive City, which are the ones we know and love from the game. So these are your basic... So the original game of Necromunda was gang warfare between the various sort of lower members of the houses of the Hive City. Those houses are... We'll go through them and explain what their sort of deal is. So starting with the first one, House Cawdor. So these guys look a lot like raggedy peasants, like properly raggedy peasants. They've got stitched together clothing. They tend to wear a lot of hoods. They're religious fanatics, basically. Okay. They're very pro-emperor, but they're also really backward. They're like proper religious fanatic hicks.
Okay.
If you look at their weapons, they've got a lot of stuff tied to other stuff. They use sort of blunderbuss type things, and they don't have particularly high technology. You still use things like auto guns and las guns, but that's quite rare. One of their fun things that they have is they can get is bomb rats. Which are literally rats when they tie bombs to and put candles on their heads.
What?
And then
that is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, Necromunda is full of awesome stuff. We're just scratching the surface.
Bomb rats.
Are they particularly susceptible to witchcraft?
The house called the rats.
No, the House Cawdor.
Not that I'm aware of, because they obviously have really strong faith in the.
Oh yes, no, they won't be. They won't have any of that. They will use the power of their faith.
Because they're also.
I was going to say that Macbeth was the Thane of Cawdor.
That's
where
that's probably where it comes from. I don't know these things. I don't know. So thank you for that. That's an
interesting little thing. Yeah.
They are closely tied to the Redemptionist movement, who are proper. They're like if Cawdor are kind of fanatical, the Redemptionists are super fanatics. They believe in they believe in the Emperor as a purifying flame. So they are literally flame is their entire deal.
Yeah.
They will burn you at the drop of a hat. They have a lot of flame weapons, underslung flamers on things. One of their old models, the Deacon, used to have a massive two-handed chainsaw with an underslung flamethrower. They tend to wear weird braziers on their heads.
Oh yes, yeah. The Redemptionists are.
They used to be a gang all to themselves.
Yes,
but now they're kind of associated with the House Cawdor stuff, which makes sense.
So what? Because the lower houses, am I right that they have affiliate to the higher?
Yes, they are affiliated. They're usually affiliated to one of the higher up.
Which
houses.
one is Cawdor?
I am just going to look into it now because this is the bit I can never remember
because. I would have thought that would be a difficult one to
here we go. So, here we go. Well, I'll give you their description of House Cawdor.
Yep.
The men and women of House Cawdor are bone pickers, scrap herders, and midden thieves. I don't know whether they're stealing toilets or stealing poo. I don't know. But
no, so a midden thief would be someone who went rummaging through the sewers for the rings and things.
Right. There we go. Their vast empire built upon the discarded scraps of other clans and bound together by an unshakable faith. The house owes much of its existence to the cult of the Redemption, a splinter sect of the imperial cult that emerged on Necromunda centuries ago, its preachers proclaiming doom of the Imperium and the unworthiness of mankind to all who would listen. Of all the houses to entertain the Redemptionist demagogues, only the rubbish peddlers of Cawdor took their message utterly to heart. Yeah, so embracing their own inferiority and pledging their worthless lives to the spread of the faith, this faith has done little for their wealth. Its people have endured where other houses have failed and fallen to the march of time. Now the clan is equal in size, though not in wealth or status, to several of the other clan houses combined, not least of all because Cawdor has a long history of gathering up outcasts, many claim kidnapping the children of other clans.
Oh. Okay, so the Cawdor seem to be an unaffiliated.
Yeah, house. I think their affiliation is to the Redemption.
The Redemption, and they are the ones that will take in the outcasts from.
Yeah, they will literally. Yeah, they are the lowest of the low.
So if you get cast down through the wall,
even further than that,
and even further, or from your house or family or whatever.
Yeah, because whilst this is the main area of the city. It's the underhive, which is even lower, the very dregs, the very bottom of the city, which is where a lot of these fights take place. Because fighting in the streets of the house is kind of the hive is kind of frowned upon. Yeah. So they sort of take it to the bottom, to the basement. So next on the list, we have the noble house Escher.
And now, Escher, I'm going to get this wrong, and everyone's going to be bad with it. Are they all women?
They are.
Yes.
Yes, they are. They are significant for being almost entirely female.
Yeah.
Because the males of their line are very stunted and weak and pathetic. More so than
I know how they feel.
Yeah. So their primary thing is drugs and poisons and chemical concoctions.
I know how that feels as well.
So that's what they do for other people. That's their sort of primary sort of area of manufacture. Like I said, their gangs are all women. They have a very punk rock aesthetic.
Yeah.
They tend to have really big, colourful hair. They're like bright colour armour and things. They wear when you look at the models, they've got leopard skin and tiger, all these sort of zebra print and all that kind of thing. They're just crazy punk rock aesthetic.
The Eschers are the only female only gang.
Yes, they're because their men are specifically
they're genetically defective.
They're genetically defective. That's why they're not.
Do we know who they're affiliated to?
I believe it doesn't specifically say, but I remember from trying to remember my own knowledge. I think they're mostly associated with House Yulanti.
Right.
Because one of the original characters, Mad Donna Yulanti, was a member of that house who was apparently really, really good looking, and she was sick and tired of people complimenting on her just on her looks, so she scratched out her own eye. and then went more nuts and disappeared down. She is literally called Madonna because she is inspired by Madonna.
I see.
Of 90s. She has the conical
the boobies.
boob holders.
Yeah.
Yeah, that her original model has big pigtails and big pointy metal boob armor.
And did she go and join the Escher?
I believe so. She's affiliated. At least she's affiliated. She's one of the special characters, and you could, but she was kind of lent. Anyone could hire her, but she kind of lent towards
the Eschers.
Yes.
Right.
So
So who's next on the list? We've got the
House Escher
religious
they're
nutters
almost kind of their opposite, which is House Goliath.
Yes.
So House Goliath they're just roideheads. Basically, they're ironically they fight a lot with all the gangs, especially Escher, but they get a lot of their stimulants and what's the word I'm looking for? All their
combat drugs.
Yeah, all their stuff. Yeah, because they are properly roided out. In the modern game, they're even bigger. They've got various levels of characters that are even much bigger. They make Space Marines look like they're skipping leg day.
They remind me of the cartoon image of 80s wrestlers.
Yes, and they have that very much that aesthetic.
That sort of look.
That proper, the 80s wrestling is probably about right for what you're...
your Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah,
your Hulk Hogan.
And your Macho Man.
Macho Man, like that. But then they cartoonify them.
Even more so.
And make them, caricatures of themselves.
Yeah.
Where their muscles are beyond what you could...
Their muscles have muscles, yeah.
Like a caricatured Attitude Era.
Yes.
Well, even
before
the golden era.
The golden era before that.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Where the kind of thing when you buy them the figures, and they'd be the little toys of the Ultimate Warrior, be even more muscles on muscles type thing.
That would be Goliath.
That's House Goliath. Yeah, they
like their big guns
things
as well, don't they?
Yeah, they like big loud noises.
Yeah.
They tend to specialise obviously in hand-to-hand combat. They have a lot of in the more modern game. Their weaponry includes things like spudjackers, which are these massive wrenches that are used for taking out enormous rivets and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And renderizers, which are huge serrated axes. They don't rotate like a chain axe. They're just an axe that has lots of spiky teeth on the end.
Because sharp axes.
Hammers, all these sort of things. Yeah. These are they're sort of young Jews have big arc welders and circular saws as their weapons.
Right.
Yeah, they're pretty They also do a lot of genetic engineering, as you can imagine.
Yeah. Okay.
They're the kind of guys that also use there's regular born Goliaths, but there's also vat born.
Oh, okay.
They grow people. Yeah, they grow people in tanks because that way you can make sure that they're going to be muscly as all hell.
Fair enough.
So that's
bottle-fed steroids at an early age.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So after Goliath, we have House Van Saar. Who are the most technologically advanced of all of the houses. They have some really interesting lore in the new Necromunda lore, in that apparently in the heart of their territory, the thing that gives them all their power, but is also massively killing a lot of them, is there is an STC.
Oh, wow,
apparently.
okay.
Well, what is massively rumoured to be an STC database that is obviously hidden with very good reason.
Yes.
Because if anybody from the Mechanicum even got a whiff that there was one there, House Van Saar would quite quickly cease to exist.
Well, there's a strong chance that the entire spire of Primus would have ceased to exist if they thought there was a...
Oh, yeah. They'd be very polite about it first, but they would happily kill all of Van Saar because they have had contact with it.
Yeah. But
they would excise it like a freaking tumour and be like, thank you very much, bye-bye.
Yeah. That would cause a lot of...
But their whole thing is tech. In the old days, they just used to have, they all run around in, If you've seen the movie Dune, is it David Lynch, Dune?
Yeah.
The 84 version of Dune, the kind of still suits that they're wearing, that's kind of what they run around in. They actually wear, environment suits to run around in the hive, rather than just whatever they had on.
Yeah.
And all their guns look very, techy.
Yeah.
You could even get a plasma cannon for them back in the day.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. They're pretty awesome. Next up is my personal favourite.
Ooh.
The House Orlok.
Right.
So House Orlok, a lot of their things come in, they manufacture guns.
Oh, okay.
And stuff like that. They also do a lot of trade between the hives. Their aesthetic is biker gang. pretty much.
Okay.
They used to have more of a it was somewhere between a biker gang and the Italian mafia. Like that was the original kind of aesthetic.
Yeah.
Now it's just full on, like, think Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's their thing. They're really like a biker gang without the bikes. Although if you go on the Ashways, then also with the bikes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's their thing. They've always been my favourites. From way back when in the day, I always loved their models from original Necromunda, where they all had like straight up hair and these weird bandanas and like t-shirts with sort of what would be described as cuts now, but leather denim jackets kind of thing. It was I love that aesthetic.
Yeah, they are cool. They're also miners apparently.
Yeah, they do a lot. Yeah, they do the mining.
Yeah.
That's their sort of province. It's sort of mining and smelting and stuff like that. I think, and making
the House of Iron.
Yes, that's what they're known as. Yes, they've all got. Yeah, all the houses have got. So Cornwall's known as the House of Faith. Escher is the House of Blades, I want to say. Goliath is the House of Chains. Van Saar, I'm not entirely 100% sure what Van Saar's name is.
Let me see if it mentions... The only one it mentions it in there.
All the books, yeah, because you can buy the various books from GW. For each nowadays, you can make sure you have... Each of the houses has its own associated book, which gives you all the funky stuff that goes with it. So that's probably the quickest way of finding it. Yes, so they are the House of Artifice.
Ah, there you go.
Van Saar are the House of Artifice. That is what their little sobriquet is.
Excellent.
So we said all look, and then finally we come to the creepiest motherfuckers in the Underhive, in my opinion. House de Lac, also known as the House of Shadow.
Very appropriate.
Yes, their whole thing is information. They are information brokers. They are spies. Hackers, all that kind of thing. In the more modern thing, they also have a few. They also get some of this information possibly by psychic means.
Ooh.
So they have some psychers and things like that may or may not be legal.
Ooh.
Any relation to ancient Terran?
Goldulac?
Goldulacs?
No, it's spelled differently.
Yeah.
It is Delaque as opposed to Dulak, I believe it's Goldulac. Sadly no. But they are...
That would have been a really cool gruff through, but no.
Yeah, their original aesthetic was The Matrix.
Yes.
It's pretty much... which is ironic because I think they actually came out before The Matrix. So probably actually more likely to say Deus Ex. For those old bastards who remember the awesome game that was Deus Ex. And I'm not talking Mankind Divided or whatever the other one's called, the more modern versions. I'm talking the original one. Deus Ex. J.C. Denton.
So
that basically means trench coats and sunglasses.
Yep.
They're also all bald. They're all
bald.
completely hairless.
And they all more or less wear visors and goggles because
their eyes are
sensitive. They are very sensitive to the light.
Yes. So now, in the more modern aesthetic, they are also a lot taller and thinner than your average human. They're very gangly. So they've got like...
Burn the Witch.
Yeah.
Because that is a trait of navigators, isn't it? Being thin and
lanky. One could argue that they have a little bit of a
navigator
vibe going on there. Maybe they are like an offshoot of a Navigator house, who knows. But yeah, that's their newer sort of aesthetic is this tall, thin, they almost look like that kind of plague doctor look, thing. When you think of a plague doctor with a big trench coat, it's all like
buttoned up,
thin. Yeah. So it's a bit like that. So yeah, that's your basic 6 gangs of Necromunda.
And they're the ones that you can play as in the game.
Yeah, well, to start with. These were in both versions of the game. They came out to start with. You had 6 houses because they're vaguely similar. They're vaguely all human. They've made a lot more differences with the more modern game because before the differences really between the gangs were they had access to different skill types and some weapons. Yeah. So like Goliath they were one of the few gangs that could find bolt weaponry, for example.
Right, okay.
And Eschers were really close combat oriented, so a lot of the close combat stuff was cheap. Yeah. And they could have access to swords and things like that. Now they've also changed some of the stats on them so that like Goliaths are physically tougher, and say Eschers are faster and more nimble, stuff like that. So yeah, I like what they've done with them now that they will have a bigger identity. Yeah. But yeah, so that was the original gangs. Now, the Necromunda originally had one major expansion, which was known as Outlanders. So these gangs, whilst they're kind of all busy shooting the Underhive up and like treating it like a combination of the Old West and kind of a post-apocalyptic future, Mad Max and the Old West, there are people who are outside of there are various groups that are outside of the law who, if any of the authorities came across them, would have them shot on sight or arrested on sight. In the original Outlanders, these consisted of the Scavies, who were sort of mutants and deformed creatures that would... Obviously, there's a lot of radiation leaking out and doing horrible things in the water. So anybody that survives that ends up getting twisted into sort of mutants and things. And they formed a gang known as the Scavies. You had your basic Scavies, who were just, poor unfortunate sods that were just a little bit deformed or not as nice. You have Scalies, who were big hulking brutes that weren't very smart, but they could handle big guns. So they had things like massive blunderbusses or spear guns, where you could literally impale someone to a wall. And then you had plague zombies. So this is where the original plague zombies from 40k came from.
Oh, right, okay.
Yes, so there was a plague that would go around and bring people back from the dead. And this leads us on to another special character from back in the day. Ooh. No, one of my favourites, known as Karloff Valois.
He can never be a good guy.
Oh, I know. Yeah, with a name like Karloff Valois, which you have to pronounce like that.
Valois.
So yeah, his whole thing was he was a weird psyker. So weird spelled W-Y-R-D. So there are a few psykers in Necromunda that have various powers.
Yeah.
There are pyromancers. There are beastmasters who can use telepathic thought to control the various beasts of the Underhive. And Karloff Valois was kind of like that. And then I believe his thing was he could suck life out of people. That was his wonderful skill.
Right, okay.
He also then got, at some point, when he was running away from basically being hunted down, he got bitten by a plague zombie, but it didn't kill him. It just kind of changed him. So he's kind of a bit of a lich, really, if you think of fantasy terms.
Okay.
And now he basically just sucks the souls out of people and turns them into plague zombies. Because he uses that to sustain and keep it fight. I believe that's what he uses to fight the zombie virus or whatever.
I see.
Yes. Because one of the things you could do with the Outlanders is, because when you had a gang back in the day, you had an upkeep fee. At the end of the game, you generate income, they'd be like, right, this is how much it costs to keep the gang running, right? If you were an Outlander gang, because your gangs could also get made an outlaw, the fees were a lot less, but so was your income. But you had to feed the gang. And sometimes, in order to feed the gang, you might have to throw someone in the pot.
I see.
To literally eat. Yeah. In the sort of 1.5 version of Necromunda Underhive, Scavies could have scabby dogs, and a lot of people just bought them specifically in case they ran out of food. They weren't particularly great in the game, but they were cheap. So they were just in case we run out of food, the dog's going in the pot. So yeah, that's
cheaper than actual food.
Yes. So yeah, after them we have the Redemptionists. Were also an outlaw gang of the time.
Yep.
They're now, as such, they're more attached now to more modern House Corridor. Pit slaves were pretty cool, because slavery is a thing that happens, unfortunately, or did. I'm assuming we've quietly forgotten that now.
Forced employment with no pay.
Yes, but unfortunately it gets worse, because a lot of the people that have slaves in the guilds that have slaves, they need them to do quite dangerous tasks and things, or quite industrial things, and rather than carry around a drill all day, and it might run out of power, whatever, and it might not be as powerful as you need it to be, why not cut off your arm and replace it with a rock drill? Because you're just, in the same way that servitors are. So these have effectively become living servitors. Anyway, a bunch of them escaped, or do escape, it happens from time to time, and they band together, and they are known as pit slaves. Now, some of them might come from fighting pits, so they have more fighty type weapons, and some of them are literal slaves who are just there. They were there to do industrial tasks, and they form gangs. Obviously, they're all wanted because they're all escaped slaves.
Yep.
Compulsory volunteering.
Yes, it is. Yeah, very much so. Then we come on to my personal favourite of the Outlander gangs, and one which I know will sadly never return, which are the Ratskin, known as Ratskin Renegades. These are supposedly they were hinted at being they'd been in Necromunda before the Imperium. They're the descendants of the people who lived there. So they literally have the old Because for those who don't know, they are literally Native Americans.
Yeah.
They have that classic European view of the whole they're in touch with the Underhive. They've adapted to the Underhive, so there's a lot of things that can happen in games. You can have a lot of environmental hazards go off during a game, and the Ratskins are very much I know what the telltale signs of a hive quake are, or I can tell when there's going to be an outflow pipe that's going to sort of spew toxic gas. So they were like good at avoiding all that. They're also excellent trackers, as you'd expect, and they have shamans who make medicine pouches and all this.
Yeah.
So I know that is now massively culturally insensitive, but I have a soft spot for them because they were some of the nicest models in the Necromunda range as it was, in my opinion. And I always thought they were really cool. This was back when I was young, so I didn't understand cultural appropriation or like insensitive.
I think you
viewpoints.
could probably redo them. You'd just have to change the.
They did try a little bit with the Necromunda Underhive 1.5 kind of thing, but they were very bad.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, there was a version of Necromunda called Necromunda Underhive, which started off quite not well, but it was at the tail end of when they had the specialist design studio.
Yeah.
And I don't know, because this is not like, but based on what it looked like, it seemed to be where the trainee sculptors went.
Yeah.
And a lot of the miniatures towards the tail end of specialist games were not good.
Right.
There's no way they would have been released for like the major game systems. Let's put it that way.
Fair.
But yeah, like I said, I always love Ratskin Renegades. I've still got them because you could hire Ratskin scouts as like hangers on to your gang, and I've still got my favourite one. There's a really beautiful model of a Ratskin guy who's like kneeling down with a knife and a shotgun. And
I think I've seen that. Did people used to use those in like Katachan armies?
Yeah, you'd see him in or Inquisitorial Henchmen. Yeah, because they have that kind of like
that vibe that would fit into those kind of armies quite a bit.
The other great thing about the original Necromunda book is it has, like we used to have in the back of White Dwarfs, it has all the catalogue pages, which I love.
So the thing I think
there he is, Ratskin with Shotgun 1
Ratskin with Shotgun 1.
Yeah,
that's him.
He's one of my favourites. I've still got him, thankfully. I love him to pieces.
He's, I think, made an appearance in a few.
Yes, he's been a very few because he's one of the coolest.
Yeah.
Because he came out before the rest of the Ratskins. So before Ratskins became a gang of their own, you had the Ratskin Scout was like one of the guys you could hire.
Okay. So I think it's worth mentioning that at this point that the big houses at the top have a lot of political intrigue going on amongst them.
Oh God, yes.
To try and take
constantly,
over from...
they all want to take over from House. The idea is they want to take over from House Helmore.
Yeah.
Without being seen to be doing that.
So they're all trying to like cause the lead house's downfall, while also
without not causing Necromunda's downfall, or drawing the attention of the Administratum, who'd be like, "No, these guys are in charge. Know your place."
Yeah, and also not leaving their eye off the prize too long that the house next to them comes and wipes them out.
Yes,
using the lower house gangs
as
proxies to do it. So although the top houses don't go in for open warfare against one another in the spire part, in the lower part they use the lower houses to fight a proxy war.
Yes,
and to get resources or to get information or to capture somebody specific or whatever.
Yeah, and this leads me on to an interesting segue. Speaking about the spire. For people who live in the Spire.
Yes.
There's one other gang we haven't talked about.
Oh.
Which aren't really a gang as such. These are, and this is apropos because soon, maybe even by the time we're recording, the new expansion for the current version of Necromunda is going to come out.
Yes.
The Delve into Hive Secundus, which is being led by one of my favourite things in Necromunda, the Spirers.
Yes, I was going to say now.
Spire Hunters. Now, originally, this is a really cool lore with the original Spire gangs. So they are like super high-tech suits that you can buy if you're really rich and bored, basically. So these are like, a lot of the Spire Hunters tend to be the sort of lower sons and daughters of big houses up in the upper Spire that were really bored and fancied like basically just running around the Underhive murdering people. If you played the Spire gang, they all had like quests. Like they're like, I've got to go down there until I've killed like 300 people, or until I've broken a sump crock across my back or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Lots of cool things, and there are four variants of the suits. There is the one which is just coming out in the new box, which is the Horus, which originally was like a big chunky guy. Had a bit of a Mean Machine from the helmet, especially design, was very much Mean Machine from
Judge
Dredd.
Yep.
But their whole thing is they're big and chunky. They've got these great big power fist things with automatic grenade launchers on the back.
Of course. Should never leave home without your automatic grenade launcher.
Yeah. Then you had the Jackaras, who have like they're like quite nimble and lithe. Their weapon of choice is like a power sword and a las gauntlet, which has a mirror shield on the back. So if you ever fired las weapons at them, they could be like Pshung! And like bouncing back at you is one of their sort of cool abilities. Then you had the Yelds, who had flight packs. So they could sort of like soar around firing shit down on people with a big laser gauntlet. And then finally, my favourite was the Malkadons, who were basically spiders. So they had like web launchers, and then they had like lightning claw looking things. So they'd web you up and then just rip you apart. One of the cool bits of lore, which they've now kind of dropped officially, it seems, is when the original Tau Codex came out. This is I really like this because it was never openly mentioned. But when the original Tau Codex came out, at the back of the Codex, it had the Tau language. Now, it was really cool because if you've seen any Tau models, they've got that weird script on them.
Yes.
That has a direct translation. You can look at those symbols and see that they correspond to letters, and you can read out words. So Farsight obviously has Farsight written on his shield, stuff like that. But it also had a bunch of Tau words and what they meant. So we know that Guela is their word for humans.
Yep.
So they have like things like that. Shovar means like outcast.
Yes.
Because no Shovar is Farsight's name. 4 of the interesting names or words on there were Rus, because a lot of Tau words have apostrophes in them, Eld, Jak Ara, and Malkadon.
Okay.
Because it was heavily implied that the Spire suits and technology, it was always implied in the Necromunda background that it wasn't necessarily human technology.
Ah.
And when the Tau book came out,
everyone
they didn't mention it. They didn't link to it. Someone like me, who's a complete nerd, and went through the whole thing, and I was like, "Hang on, I know Malkadon sounds a lot like Malkadon and Yeld," and it was like Yeld means like flyer or like bat or something, and it was like Malkadon means spider, and I'm like, ooh. So yeah, that was a really cool. I wanted to say this out loud.
So it's even possible that this is Tau tech brought in.
It was, yes, because now in the new edition we know it's alien tech, but I think it's been divorced from the whole Tau link.
Oh, okay.
Which is a shame because, like I said, I really love that little.
Yeah, the only bit I have about that is just exactly where the Tau are situated.
Yeah.
In the Damocles.
Well, then that's the point. That's part of it. You know, that shows how.
And they're in Segmentum Solar. It's like that's a heck of a way to get.
True, but when you think of the Watercast and their influence, that's the whole point. You know,
cool.
The rogue traders maybe they get a whole bunch of them. They then sell them on and then sell them on.
Yeah, the rogue traders are allowed to do that. So, the underhive. So that's the bit, and then down at the very bottom
is the sump.
The sump.
Yes.
Which is basically where all the outcasts get thrown.
Well, the sump itself is actually mostly like a
empty
lake kind of thing. It's kind of literally pools of. It's nothing but like toxic waste and.
If you're
contaminated water,
if you're really down on your luck, it's where you end.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, there used to be a really cool scenario called "It Came from the Sump," which was like, your gang was in a thing, and you had literally like. If you were alone, think tentacles or claws or whatever would appear out of the shadows and attack you, which was really cool. This is why Necromunda has always been my favourite system, because it has so much character to it, and it has so many cool little tidbits of lore that extend out into the wider Imperium. You get a snapshot of Imperial Society from the top to the bottom, and especially this new edition where they're moving on the lore and we're going further afield because we're now we've gone out into the ash waste, so outside of the hive cities, because of all the stuff that's gone on, the whole of the planet is pretty much just a toxic wasteland, because there's nothing out there. Think Mad Max, except you can't breathe. So out in the ash wastes, as they're called, because it's literally like, I believe like almost like nuclear fallout everywhere.
It's nuclear fallout brought on by over-manufacture as opposed to actual bombs.
Yeah, it's more kind of nuclear winter.
Winter, yeah.
So... out there's a lot of like obviously even more lawlessness because you're even further away from the hive, and this is where we get the ash waste nomads who kind of have a Tuscan Raider kind of aesthetic-y looking thing, and they've got giant fleas. That's their mode of transportation. Instead of banthas, they ride giant fleas.
Of course they do.
And they have lots of insects as like their under their control and things like that. The Ash Race was kind of fun. It added vehicles and stuff into the game, and each house had their own like funky vehicle that goes along with them. Also, Necromunda was the first place to see the return of squats as well.
Oh right, okay.
Yes, because Andy Hall runs the specialist game design studio. He's a very nostalgic guy. He loves a lot of really old lore. These used Necromundas are a really cool way to sort of shoehorn in a lot of these things.
Bring it back.
So the first ever squat we saw returning was a Necromunda model, which is an ammo runner or an ammo jack, I believe. He was a squat, and there was a squat bounty hunter as well that came out, and it was a massive deal. Then obviously we've had the Leagues of Votann since come out, and on Necromunda itself you can have squat prospectors who roam the ash wastes, obviously looking for
gold,
mining and all gold. Yeah, other minerals.
They're dwarves. They always look for gold.
Exactly.
It's the law.
It's great.
That's how things work.
So yeah, that's how they returned back into the law, which is awesome.
So I have managed, Pete.
Yes.
For a bit of a spoiler for myself.
Yes.
I was rather looking forward to you telling me what happened to Hive Secundus.
Yes.
And I have spoiled it for myself.
Yeah.
But having said that, it is fucking cool.
It is. I know a little bit about it. It was always like on all the old maps of like Necromunda, you'd have Hive Primus, and then Hive Secundus was like a big like do not enter. You know, is basically been evacuated. Is not really habitable for reasons.
Well, I know those reasons.
Yes.
I think the discussion on Hive Secundus is going to have to wait till next week.
Are we an hour already?
Yeah.
Wow.
My word. Well,
man, I can talk.
Yes, I know, right?
Yeah. This is what I mean. Necromunda is so deep, and it's got so many awesome things in it.
Necromunda Part 2. Good lord.
Necromunda harder.
Yeah, you'll have to join us again next week for Necromunda Part 2.
And
find out what happened to Hive Secundus and all the games we missed.
And there are a few we missed, and a few other bits and pieces. And we'll get into some of the gameplay as well.
Yes.
The original, not the new
one.
Oh,
yeah.
Because neither me or Pete know the new one.
Yeah, I'm learning. I'm about to start my new... I'm very excited.
Are you getting there?
I'm very excited. My gang is ready. A few of my friends are getting their gangs finished.
Don't lie to me. You don't have friends.
I know. And by that I mean I'm painting 3 more gangs.
3 more gangs.
Because damn it, if they don't do it, I will. I'll play all these games myself.
I'll just put them on the table and I'll do it on my own, damn it.
Yeah, create my own Necromunda campaign with blackjack and hookers. In fact, forget the Necromunda campaign.
Excellent. Dear. Right. So with that, yes, I honestly did not think we'd gone.
I didn't. I was like, that's gotta be
I was ready to plough into Hive Secundus, but that sounds.
No, you shouldn't. No, you shouldn't. It's forbidden.
No, it is forbidden stuff. But yes, so thank you all for listening. We really appreciate it. You can find Pete on Onyx Dragon Gaming on all the social medias and on Twitch.
And YouTube now as well.
And on YouTube as well. So if you could pop over there, give him a like, a subscribe, a follow. If you've got a Bezos subscription, you can throw it him on Twitch.
Yes.
That would be
amazing.
Jeff
Bezos give me money.
Yes, indeed. You can find us at LazyDragonGaming.com and on Lazy Dragon Gaming on all the social medias, including YouTube, where we would appreciate it if you left us a subscribe, a like, a comment, and a follow. And
hit that little bell.
Hit that little bell. And if you have any questions for me, Pete, or Evie, Evie can answer questions too now, can't you, dear?
I can.
You can say yes, dear.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, dear.
Oh, you ruined it.
It's alright, bud. I got you.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, so if you have any questions for any of us, please leave them in the comments on whatever social media you find this on, and we will do our Q&A where you will be, you can Q and we will A.
Indeed.
Yes.
That'll be episode 30. So.
Episode 30 in 6 episodes' time.
Dun dun dun.
Yes, indeed. Until then, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from her.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.